Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we shall be studying our last chapter for class 10th maths, that is probability. In the last video, we learned the concepts of surface areas and volumes for combination of figures, and learned how to calculate those surface areas and volumes. So in today's chapter, this is the last chapter for class 10th mathematics. We shall be studying the concept of probability. You might have learned it in class ninth also. So again, it will be revision for you, and it is a very easy chapter, very short, small chapter, very short chapter. So yeah, let's start with the concept of probability. So let us take an example. Let's take examples. Okay. In there are certain cases when we say that now it is the rainy season going on, right? So we say that today it might rain or it might not, depending on the sun. Because if we say that the sun is shining much, so we predict that no, today it might not rain. And if there are many clouds, there are dark clouds in the air, then we say that, oh yeah, it may rain today, and it might rain heavily also. So these are all mere predictions, and they do not have any certain mathematical possibility that we can assume. That like rainfall is a very big thing to predict because it requires much calculations because it depends on temperature, humidity, um, winds, etc. things. But let's take a very basic and common example. When we toss a coin, like the coin has two sides, right? That is the heads and the tails. When we toss a coin, we cannot predict that whether it would be a head or it will be a tail. We just take a guess, that okay, it can be heads or it can be tails, right? But but there are possibilities of getting both heads and tails equally, because there are only two possibilities that we might have, we have in the case of tossing a coin. That is, e either I would get a head, or I would get a tail, right? So therefore we needed a concept that could express this possibility or prediction mathematically, and therefore we can use it in many other calculations as well. For us, for a class 10 student, we do not need probability as such, but in research and in many areas and fields, we need probabilities, because there are many things and many important things that depend on probabilities. Take care. So therefore, in this chapter, we'll learn how to calculate the probabilities, and what is probability, how do we calculate them, and how do we use them. Take care. So yeah, in general, we have three possibilities, right? Like we have five possibilities. We may say it as, first one is short possibility that this will happen. This will happen, right? So maybe, if I say that I have a box of red sweets, the sweets are red in color, okay? I have a box full of red sweets. And if I say that you pick one sweet from the box, do not see the color of the sweet, and you just pick one of those sweets and tell me the color. It is but obvious that the color of the sweet would be red, because we already know that the box is full of red sweets. So this is going to happen, that this will happen and happen only, right? Okay, that is one thing. Second, maybe I say that there are this 90% of the sweets are red in color, and 10% of sweets are in white color, right? Are white in color. So now, if I say that pick one sweet from the box, it is most likely to happen that you would pick a red sweet. What Focus on my words. I'm not saying that this would happen definitely. This will happen definitely, that you would choose a red color sweet only. But most likely it is going to happen, it would happen that you pick a red sweet because the number of red sweets are greater, are the number of sweets are larger than that of the white sweets. So that is also the case that where we say that most likely to happen. Now, if in the same box I have 50% of the sweets are in red color, and 50% of sweets are white in color. Now, the amount of red sweets and white sweets are equal, right? So now, if I say that pick one sweet from the box, it what I would say that there are equally likely chances that you would get a red sweet or a white sweet. There are, because both the chances are same, because of their quantities. They are in equal quantities in the box, right? So this is the third case. Now the fourth case would be less likely. If I say that the 90% sweets are uh, are white in color and 10% sweets are red in color. Now, if I say that pick one sweet from the box and it might be a red sweet, that it would be a red sweet, the chances are less likely because now the quantity of red sweets is much more lesser than that of the white sweets. So in that case, I would say that less likely to happen. That therefore we can say that the chances are less. The then we can say that it is less likely to happen that we get a red sweet. And now, if my whole box is full of white sweets, okay, I don't have any red sweet, but I still see you that okay, you pick one sweet, and what are the chances that it would be a red sweet? That is definitely not going to happen because we don't have any red sweets present in the box only, right? They all are white in color. So that is definitely not going to happen. So not going to happen. So basically, we can divide probability into five possibilities. These are not mathematical possibilities. These are just merely theoretical possibilities, right? Okay. I hope this part is clear. Okay. Now, if we were to calculate the probability mathematically, what is the formula for that? Therefore, the formula to calculate the probability mathematically is the number of trials, probability of event E is equal to the number of trials in which the event happened upon the total number of trials. Okay. This is the experimental probability or the empirical probability that you have learned in class 9 also, wherein we know the results, and that wherein we know the number of trials that we have taken, and we also know the number of times that outcome has happened. So this is the experimental probability because we experimentally know ki, okay, I have tossed a coin for 10 times, and then I know that five times heads appeared and five times tails appeared. So therein we can calculate this experimental probability. But if we don't know that, if we cannot if we cannot practically toss a coin and do that, or we cannot do that event practically, we need to calculate theoretical probability with whose formula is number of favorable outcomes and upon the total number of possible outcomes of the experiment. ठीक है? So we'll take a very basic example of um, tossing a coin. Here we know that find the probability of getting a head when a coin is tossed once, and find the probability of getting a tail. Now, we know that the coin is tossed once. So we know that probability of A, probability of, let's say A is an event of tossing a coin. Now there are two possibilities here. Either that is called as the set that is the set that consists all the possible outcomes is called the sample space. Now here sample space is, if I toss a coin, either I would get a head or I would get a tail, right? So this is the sample space. So therefore we can calculate two probabilities from here. That is the probability of getting a head and probability of getting a tail. Now, if I want to calculate the probability of getting a head, its formula would be P of S, that is probability of head, that is the number of outcomes upon total number of outcomes. Now, from here we know that the total number of outcomes are 2. Okay, right? And probability of head, that is the outcomes, the number of favorable outcomes to get a head is only 1, because only one time the head comes into the sample space. So therefore we can write it as 1 by 2, right? Because 2 is the total number of outcomes, that is heads also and tails also, and 1 comes due to, because of the sample space, that we only have heads one time into the sample space. So therefore, probability of head is 1 by 2. Now, similarly, we can calculate the probability of tails. That is, again, the total number of sample space is same, or the total number of favorable outcomes is same. That is 2. And the number of times tails occur in the sample space is only 1. So therefore, the total number of favorable outcomes is equal to 1 by 2. If I want to express it in terms of percentage, we can easily say it. We can multiply it by 100. So if we multiply it with 100, probabilities are 50% and 50%. So therefore, we can say that there are 50% chances that either I would get a head, and there are 50% chances that I would get a tail. Okay, I hope that is clear. And so this is how we calculate probability. We divide the total number of favorable outcomes by the total number of, sorry, we divide the number of favorable outcomes upon the total number of outcomes. I hope that is clear. Now, there are two things that we need to understand is the sum of the probabilities of all the elementary events of an experiment is 1. So elementary, what does elementary events mean? That is, here in this case, elementary events are getting a head and getting a tail. So if we sum up the individual probabilities of heads and tails, that comes up is equal to 1. That comes up as 1, because the sum of the probabilities of all the elementary events of an experiment is always 1. Okay, right. I hope that is understood. Cool. Now, okay, so therefore, in general, it is true that for an event, now I can say that if my event, let's say heads is my event E. Okay, getting a heads is my event E. Then getting a tails is not my event E, or we can write it as E complement. That is the complement of event. So therefore, we can easily from this part we can derive that E plus E bar is equal to 1, right? Because let's say if E is heads and T is E bar. So therefore, we can say that E complement is equal to 1 minus E. So therefore, we can say that probability of E complement is equal to 1 minus probability of E. Okay, that is known as the complement of the event E, and these are complementary events, basically converse of the event. So if my event is true, then for an event, this is what we get. That is a complement of the event. मतलब उसका उल्टा condition. If I want to calculate the probability of getting true and false, so if my event is true, then my converse of event true is false, right? So therefore, both of them are complementary events. Now, we need to focus on the thing that what is the range of the probability. So one thing that you need to get in your mind is the probability ranges from 0 to 1 only. If in your answer you get probability as negative or more than 1, then your answer is definitely wrong. 110% your answer is wrong, because probability of any event, you take any event in the world, it ranges from 0 to 1. Now, what does that mean? If my probability is 0, if my probability is 0, then the event is impossible to happen. As we saw in the case of red sweets and white sweets, that if my box is full of white sweets, what is the probability of getting a red sweet? So that is never gonna happen because I don't have any red sweet in the box, right? So this is an impossible event. And if my probability is equal to 1, then the event is certain to happen. That 110% that event is going to happen. How? For example, if I have a box of if my box is full of red sweets and I want to calculate the probability of getting a red sweet, then the probability would be 1 because that is going to happen. There is no case that in which I would not get a red sweet because my box is full of red sweets. There are no sweets of any other colors in the box. So that event is certain to happen. So this is called as sure event or certain event. One more example that we can take is for an impossible event. If I roll a dice, now the faces of dice are from ranges from 1 to 6. So either I would get a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Now the probability to get a 7 when I roll a dice is 0 because there is no 7 present on the dice, right? So therefore, the event is short 0, and the probability for event is 0, and the event is impossible to happen. But if I say the probability of getting a number less than 7, now the dice has all the numbers less than 7 because it ranges from 1 to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all of these numbers are less than 7. So therefore, here the probability is 1 because there are all possible outcomes that are going to happen. Right? They might happen, and they are again true because we are finding a probability that of getting a number less than 7. So this is a sure event that is going to happen. I hope that is clear. So, this is all for the concept of probability, and this is all what we have in this chapter. I hope all of the concepts are clear. You just go through the solved examples one, read and understand all the solved examples. You would definitely understand what probability is and how do we calculate the probability and how do we calculate the sums. What is the approach to calculate them, to solve them. Okay. We'll quickly summarize what we have learned. The uh, formula for probability is the number of favorable outcomes upon the total number of possible outcomes. The probability of a sure event or certain event is 1. The probability of an impossible event is 0. And the probability of an event is a number of P of E such that it ranges from 0 to 1. It is not less than 0 and it is not greater than 0. It might be equal to 0 and it might be equal to 1, but not less than 0, not more than 1. Then an event having only one outcome is called elementary event. The sum of all probabilities of all the elementary events of an experiment is 1. And for any event E, there exists a probability of event. For any event, P of E plus P of E complement is 1, where complement or E bar stands for not E, that is the converse of the E. And both of these E and E bar are the complementary events of each other. I hope this chapter is clear. So therefore, we have covered all the chapters of class 10th mathematics except the chapter 13th, that was statistics. That was due to some reasons I could not cover it, but that's okay. You can do it on your own. It is a very easy chapter. There are formulas and directly tables that you need to solve, mean, mode, median, etc. So yeah, this was the last chapter of class 10th mathematics. This was the last video for this playlist of class 10th maths. I think that we have covered all the concepts, and I believe that you have also understood all the concepts in detail, and you can easily solve all the questions and cover and get a good score in your exams and tests. So yeah, that was it from my side. It was great um teaching you all of these chapters, and I assume that you have understood all the concepts and theory. Practice well, If you have any doubts, put it in the comment section, and whatever feedback do you have, you can put it in the comment section. And I am attaching my email ID in the um, description box. If you want to connect to me personally for anything, you are you are you are welcome. So you can connect with me on. You can just drop me an email, and I will definitely get back to you. So that was it from my side. Thank you so much for watching this playlist. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have liked it. If you have liked it, then please hit the like button and subscribe my channel for more such videos, educational videos rather. So yeah, that's it for this chapter. That was the chapter 14, probability, last chapter of class 10 mathematics, and therefore we have covered all the chapters of class 10 mathematics in this playlist. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching this playlist. Practice well, score well, and let me know what are your scores. And yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good day. Take care and bye bye.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।